Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a new World Drivers' Championship leader, and that driver is Lando Norris. He leads the charge with 357 points. Oscar Piastri down by a point to Lando with 356 points, and Max Verstappen is at 321, and that gives him a 36-point deficit to the championship leader. So 36 points, and Max Verstappen can win his fifth. Now, what's that mean mathematically? That means that with 4 races remaining in the season, Verstappen needs a 9-point advantage to Norris to secure the championship. So, in order for that to happen, Max must win the next 4 races, and Norris must get a P3 or worse in the next 4 races, and Piastri needs to get P4 or worse. Now, with the Piastri thing, given the current performance and history, it's actually in the realm of possibility that he does stay the heck off the podium for the next 4 races. Very well could happen. Now, the other scenario of Max Verstappen winning the next 4 races and Norris getting P3 in the next 4 races, I don't know. I don't know how realistic that is. However, if Norris DNFs in a race that Max wins, once again, ladies and gentlemen, it is wide open. So that is how close the 2025 season is here toward the end, with Norris only being ahead of Piastri by 1 point. If Piastri gets his act together, we are in for an exciting end of season in terms of trying to figure out who is going to win the championship. Now, I do want to touch on 10-second gate, and there are a couple of reasons why I think that was kind of the worst call that the FIA could have done. And no, it's not about, some sort of allegiance to Lewis Hamilton. Allow me to explain. Thing one, Max Verstappen is a great driver. Matter of fact, he is a skilled enough driver that he does not need the FIA stepping in and fighting his battles for him. If anything, I think that the FIA stepping in situations like this takes away from Max Verstappen's legacy, because it gives fuel to the fire of people that say Max is only winning because the FIA favors him, or Formula One management favors him, or because he gets to break the rules and nobody else gets to break the rules. Now, do I think that there are some things about Verstappen's driving style that I would prefer to not see? Sure. But even right now, there are things with Lewis Hamilton's driving style that I would like to not see. And one of those is kind of like giving up a little bit too early. Now, I know that could be strategic and that it has to do with, the performance of the car. You know what? Let's get past that. Let's stay on topic. So that's thing one. Every time the FIA does that, it kind of, ruins or puts a layer of doubt on Verstappen's legacy. Thing two, it ruins races. It has been since 2021 that we've seen the most successful drivers on the grid do a head-to-head battle. Since 2021, it is 2025 now. We haven't had a battle like this, an opportunity for a battle like this in 4 years. We finally have one. It's 4 wide going into turn whatever. Max Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc, everybody's lined up doing battle. It's an amazing thing to watch, and it could have been that way for the entirety of the race, but the FIA said no, we're going to give Hamilton a 10-second penalty, taking him out of the race. And by lap 16, we're back to the status quo that's been happening for the last 4 years, which is kind of a snooze fest. And congratulations to Lando Norris for winning. Of course, excellent drive, amazing drive, but fans, we're in this for the entertainment. The racing drivers are in this to race, and when you have the FIA or McLaren and Papaya rules taking away from the race. We're taking away from the entertainment. And that was one of the big complaints that fans had with the way the broadcast was going. When, remember a couple of races ago when they were just focusing on the partners, just like being bored. Now they're focusing on the racing, and that's amazing. Formula One, whatever, Apple TV, whoever's doing this, don't change a thing. The broadcast is great. FIA, be more consistent. Now that is a great segue into what I think should have happened. And, this could have alleviated a lot of the noise. It could have made for a great race. And I personally think that Lewis Hamilton did not do anything that Max Verstappen wouldn't have done. He didn't do anything that Max Verstappen didn't do in the same race, and vice versa. Max Verstappen didn't do anything that Lewis wouldn't have done, and didn't do anything that Lewis did do in the same race. So what does that mean? It means that either both Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton get a 5 or a 10-second penalty, or it is just a racing incident and we allow the race to continue on. But the FIA decided to be, in my opinion, not very consistent, and thusly ruined the race for the 7.5-time world champion, ruined the race for the fans, and maybe even ruin the race for, Verstappen. He may have wanted to be able to go battle head to head with Lewis Hamilton and, put doubters, make the doubters shut up. It's been 4 years since he's had an opportunity to do that. Maybe Lewis Hamilton wanted to do the same thing. That's why they're racing so hard. And it was great to actually see drivers racing that hard again. It has just been, not a lot of great battles in Formula One. And the first great battle that we had, the FIA takes away from us. And that is, my point of contention with what happened. It's not necessarily about, oh, my favorite driver didn't win. It's about the powers that be, if you will, not allowing the race to happen. And that is freaking frustrating. Now, there is a post from, I don't know if it's Udi or Udi. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. All I know is on X, it's UDI, and it's at Formula Pace. And I'm going to read it because I think it's actually kind of an interesting perspective. And it says, I was completely wrong about this, by the way. Hamilton rejoined directly in front of Bierman and Verstappen and slowed down a lot. The reason he was 2 to 3 seconds ahead at the end of the lap was because Max forced Bierman off the track at the next corner as well. At turn 1, Lewis gave, and this is another thing too. At turn 1, Lewis gave Leclerc a lot of space and was nowhere near making contact, so was entitled to take the position. The rules of racing do not vanish between teammates. Ferrari should have let him pass, and none of this would have happened. I try not to buy into these agendas when it comes to stewarding, but in Mexico, it's hard to look past them blatantly being anti-Hamilton. I agree, and I used that sentiment very carefully because it is a pain in the butt when you say something that is for a driver, and then, everybody in the comments or everybody's like, oh, no, that's BS. You're just a Hamilton fan, or you're just a, Norris fan or whatever. I mean, like, part of the fun is being able to have nuanced conversations and being able to admit, maybe when your driver made a mistake, or your driver was wrong, or your team made a mistake, or when that's part of the fun of having these racing conversations, is being able to talk in a nuanced and sophisticated manner. So again, I don't use this very much, but in the Mexico GP, it was fairly blatant that they overplayed their anti-Hamilton hand, and it ruined the race. By lap 16, the Mexican GP was kind of a snooze fest, because the FIA changed the entire dynamic. Ferrari was asleep at the wheel because they could have prevented the 10-second penalty overall as well, but they did nothing. And it made the race devolve. And that's why it's important that the FIA gets on about their consistency. Now, there was something else that was quite interesting, and I really feel bad for the guy, Lando Norris. I don't know if you saw the post-race interview, but he got booed like so bad. And, the theory is that Lando Norris was given the race, he's being given the championship. I personally don't see where that's coming from. Lando Norris had the mechanical failure. He's been having the slow pit stops. There have been these contentious papaya rules. He will have repercussions until he doesn't have repercussions. So I don't understand anybody saying that Norris is being given the championship. I think he fought hard, and I think that he deserves the lead. He's currently driving better than Oscar Piastri. Case closed. That's just how it is. Now, we're kind of far into this video. If you're a Formula One fan, you probably know how the grid ended. You know the results. And I just wanted to jump on here and talk about the biggest things, or the biggest things that I saw during the race. And to me, that's it. It should have been a racing incident. The race should have been interesting the entire time through. And instead, we got a dud from lap 16 on. And that was pretty much based on, a little bit of micromanagement from the top. And that has been ruining, Formula One for the last 4 years. It's been making it kind of boring. And even whatever. Let me not get into this whole, negative, thing. Great race for the most part. I am glad that the driver's champion has not been picked yet, or has not been decided yet, because it means that we're in for, 4 more good races. There's nothing worse than, having 6 races left to go and you're just like, But anyway, I've been Dalton. This has been the Petrolist, and you've been great. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you for the next race. I feel like I should be talking about something else when it comes to the Mexican GP, but I mean, these are kind of the biggest things. All right. See you next time.